Where's this bike made?
It's made here in India.
And it's exported from?
It's exported from here.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the export point when we talk about the tires, and you'll be happy to know this has Pirelli Sport Comp Phantoms. You see that expression? We'll come back to this because his expression is wrong.
Oh.
Now, this engine goes into a traditional double cradle kind of chassis. It has very similar suspension in terms of spec to the Interceptor. But obviously, there is a 17-18 kilo weight difference. This is the longer wheelbase. And in that sense, it's pretty similar supposedly to the Interceptor. But when you ride it, honestly, these classic bikes handle more or less the same way. So it's like a normal single. Is it too sporty? No. Is it too laid back? No. It's somewhere in the middle. And I think it gels quite well with the engine because it's about as laid back as the engine. So when I started to push into the corners, I had a good time. Did I think of this as wow, sporty, as the Gold Star would have been back in the day, as the top motorcycle?
That time.
No. But as of today, yes, we are okay. You'll have a good time. When I saw the Pirelli Sport Comp Phantoms though, my heart sank. Because I was like, oh my God, for the next 200 kilometers, I'm just going to be sliding around everywhere. I'm going to hate my life.
Background, we first experienced these on the Triumphs with the Bonneville family, and they were absolutely rubbish in the wet, especially in the wet. Then we also experienced them next in the other modern classic.
In the Interceptor.
And
Continental
and
GT.
Continental.
And they were rubbish there too.
Completely. So it was just like you had the prestige of having a Pirelli, but the functionality just wasn't there.
Yeah, and at that point of time, and still today, I think Pirelli's tagline was power is nothing without control. And if you ever needed to underline that triple times, it was the Pirelli Sport Comp that would do it because it had no control to offer. But what turns out is these Pirellis come from Italy and those came from Brazil. And clearly the two markets were producing slightly different kinds of tires. So it turns out that these Pirellis are actually okay. I had no issues with them. They did not slide. They did not do anything unusual. They returned feedback.
No squishiness also?
Nothing. They were just okay. Am I going to sing praises? No. Can you get better tires than this? Of course you can. But is it a crisis and you must do this tonight? Absolutely not. You've got good tires.
Okay.
The question, of course, is how long can Classic Legends continue to supply this bike in India on these tires? Because the import restrictions on this are pretty clear. Indian OEMs aren't allowed to import tires from outside, put them on bikes and continue to sell them in the domestic market. They can do that freely for exports. What Classic Legends tells us is the quota that they've applied for has enough numbers for them to be able to continue to sell the Pirellis in India for the foreseeable future. And when the sales numbers cross a certain point, which they won't discuss with us obviously, then they would have to look at an Indian option instead.
Okay.
So for the moment, it looks like the Pirellis will stay.
Okay.
What you should know is these Pirellis are tubeless tires, but they're sitting on spoked tubed rims and therefore they run tubes. If you have a puncture on the Gold Star, you're in quite a bit of trouble because BSA doesn't even make a main stand at all.
Okay.
Okay, it only comes with a side stand. In the UK, I believe 3, 4, 5 other manufacturers have showed up who make main stands for the BSA, but BSA does not. I would be very surprised if those main stands come here and remain at a reasonable price. So until somebody in India makes an aftermarket main stand, and honestly that idea frightens the crap out of me because a main stand is a structural thing and I would not want a third party who I don't know or trust to be able to do this for me. But until that point, there is no main stand. That is a clip from MotorInc. And what that means is if you'd like to see more of these, you can do two things. One is stay on this channel, subscribe and watch more, or you can come to the main MotorInc channel where you'll find a much longer video that discusses this idea in a lot more detail.